Alright, people, going to pop out a few predictions here. We've got cards coming up probably within the next 2 weeks. So I'm just going to, it's UFC Fight Night 31 and UFC Fight Night 32. I'm going to make my predictions for both of them, get them out as kind of quick as I can. UFC 30, Fight Night 30 was this previous weekend in Manchester. Had a ball down there, met some lovely people, met some of the fighters, some great people. I thought it was a great card with some great performances from Luke Barnett. I thought Manoa looked okay. Norman Park looked very good. So yeah, a lot of fighters coming through here in Britain, which very, very good prospects. But I'm going to go on to the UFC Fight Night 31 card. They're calling it Fight for the Troops in America, from Kentucky, which is headlined by middleweights Tim Kennedy and Rafael Natal. So I'm going to get through these as quick as I can. As I say, I've got two cards here. So we start all the way down in the middleweight division. We've got Derek Brunson, a 10-2 guy who fights at Jackson's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, against Brian Houston, who is 4-0 in the UFC. Derek Brunson didn't look great last time out in the UFC in his debut against Chris Leben. Just didn't like it at all. Brian Houston, don't know much about him. He's undefeated. He's only had a few kind of pro fights. I would like Brian Houston to win, but I think Derek Brunson's just going to have a bit too much experience for him. He's been in there with some good guys like Jacare as well. So I'm going to go Derek Brunson by a late TKO finish. Yeah, third round finish. Next up, we've got Neil Magny coming off a defeat in Brazil against Sergio Moraes, against Seth Brzezinski, who's lost his last two, but I think he won his last four before that. So it's a big fight for Brzezinski. I like Brzezinski in this fight. I think he's going to get a win. I think he can get a stoppage as well. So I think he may submit Neil Magny or maybe a late TKO as well. So Seth Brzezinski for that fight. Moving on up, we've got Eve Edwards against Yancy Medeiros. Eve Edwards, I think he's lost 4 of his last 6. This is a big fight, probably to keep his job in the UFC. Medeiros lost to Kabalov last time out, who's a beast. Tough fight. I hope Eve Edwards wins the fight. I think he will win the fight by a split decision. Then we go on to Chris Camozzi against Lawrence Larkin. Camozzi just got outclassed last time against Jacare down in Brazil. Jacare is one of the top guys in the division, no doubt about it. Camozzi went down there, gave it his best try, but you can see there was a vast difference in their skill sets and their talents. So he's against Lawrence Larkin here, who last time out he lost to Francis Carmel, but I think a lot of people were giving it for Larkin. I was one of those people that gave it for Lawrence Larkin. Very, very good fighter, quite a flashy fighter. He's a good fighter to kind of watch for the fans. And I like Lawrence Larkin in this fight. I think he can knock out Chris Camozzi. I think Camozzi's a very tough kid, but I just don't see him beating Lawrence Larkin. I think Larkin's going to get the W here. Move on to the preliminary card. We've got Jermaine de Randamie. De Randamie, she won last time out, or a split decision over Julie Kedzie. Amanda Nunes, our opponent, beat Sheila Gaff, which was fairly obvious because Sheila Gaff's probably one of the worst female fighters I've probably ever laid my eyes on, to be fair. This could be a very, very, very good fight. I watched a very good women's fight in Manchester last week between Sexton and Andrade. I think this one could be another one here. This is a toss-up for me, but I think I'm going to just give it to Nunes. I think she's going to kind of dominate on the top and get a decision victory. So I'm going to go Amanda Nunes by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Dennis Bermudez against Steven Seiler. Now, every time I pick against Steven Seiler, he wins. I think he's won maybe his last 3. I think he's maybe won 5 out of 6 fights in the UFC, which is quite impressive. But Dennis Bermudez is a beast. He's come through a couple of really good fights with Mark Grice. He beat Max Holloway, who I'm quite high on last time. Seiler knocked out Mike Brown last time out. Tough fight, but I think Dennis Bermudez is actually going to stop this fight. I think he's going to get a submission victory late in the third. So Dennis Bermudez, submission, third round. Next up, we've got George Roop against Francisco Rivera. Roop's coming off a really good victory, a knockout victory over Brian Bowles, who kind of gassed out in that second round. Rivera's kind of a 3-fight win streak. One of those was overturned because he failed the drugs test for banned substances. I like Rivera in this. I think he's going to knock out George Roop. So Francisco Rivera, better on his feet, second round knockout. And this is a great fight coming up here. Lightweights James Krause and Bobby Green, both coming off submission victories and very, very exciting fights. James Krause, I think it was a fight of the night and submission of the night performance he put in against Sam Stout. I think it was UFC 161 if I remember right. Late in the third, caught the guillotine, took Sam Stout out, and nobody really does that. Sam Stout's a very, very, very tough guy to finish, and James Krause did it. Bobby Green submitted Jacob Volkman last time out. He was very, very exciting in that fight, and he came. Dana loved the fight. A lot of people like that fight. I was one of them, but I like Bobby Green in this fight. I think it'll be. I think it could be fairly close in this fight as well. But I'm going to go Bobby Green by decision. On to the main card. We'll start off with a couple of Ultimate Fighter winners. With Colton Smith against Michael Cezar, both coming off losses. Colton Smith lost last time out to the Smashes winner Robert Whittaker. He got knocked out in that fight. Cezar's coming off of a submission loss to veteran Jorge Masvidal. So tough fight here. This is another pick'em fight, but I like Michael Cezar by submission in this fight. Of course, Colton Smith's going to be fighting in front of his armed forces people, so it's a very, very close fight. But I'm going to go with Michael Cezar, late second round submission. Next up, we've got Jorge Masvidal against Rustam Khabilov. Masvidal, a veteran of the sport, faced the best out there outside the UFC with Melendez. I think Thompson was maybe one of them as well, and other fighters. He's against Khabilov here, who beat Medeiros last time out. Now, these Russian guys are beasts. Amagov, Nurmagomedov, Bogatinov. These guys are for real, and they're here to stay. And I like Khabilov in this fight. I think Khabilov's he could maybe get a late stoppage, but Masvidal is very gritty. So I'm going to go Khabilov by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Ronnie Marks against Yoel Romero. Marks, a decision guy. I think he's won his last 3 out. I think his last win was against Andrew Craig. Romero is a beast, though. This guy is a silver medalist in freestyle wrestling away back in Sydney in 2000. He won by a flying knee last time out, so this guy's improving all the time. I'm going to go Yoel Romero by knockout. I think TKO in the first or the second. So the co-main event, Liz Carmouche, Alexis Davis. This looks a very, very, very good fight. I really like the look of this fight. Carmouche is coming off a win over Jessica Andrade, who looked fantastic in Manchester last weekend. And Alexis Davis is coming off a win over the lady that Andrade beat, and Rosie Sexton. Another really, really good fight. Davis needs to improve on her cardio in this fight, because if she kind of gasses out like she did against Rosie Sexton, and was very, very tired in that fight, Liz Carmouche I think is going to be all over and could finish her here. Carmouche, who headlined the first ever women's fight in the UFC for the pay-per-view against Ronda Rousey, gave it a good try, got submitted by the patented armbar, but I like Liz Carmouche by unanimous decision in this fight. Then we've got the main event. We've got Tim Kennedy against Rafael Natal. Now, this was supposed to be Leo Machida. Was very glad when Bisping, when he fell out, that Machida came to the UK. Looked great. Looks built for that weight class. He would have stormed over Tim Kennedy. I think he would have knocked him out like he did Mark Munoz. But Tim Kennedy, I think he's got a fight here he can really win. Rafael Natal's come off a really good fight with Tor Troig last time out. I think he's won a few fights in a row as well. But I like Tim Kennedy in this fight. Fight in front of the troops as well. It's going to be a really, really tough fight for Natal. So I'm going to go with Tim Kennedy by TKO in the third. So that's that for UFC Fight Night 31. We're going to move on to Brazil for UFC Fight Night 32, which is headlined by a really good fight between Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson. So I say it's in Brazil again. They're going to be going back there all the time. So this is it. This is on the 9th of November, whereas the Fight for the Troops is on the 6th. So 2 fight cards inside a few days, which is always good. But we're back in Brazil here. and we're going to start off with the flyweights. We've got Jose Maria Tomei against Dustin Ortiz. You probably don't know much about Dustin Ortiz. I've watched a little bit of him in Tashi Palace. Fought Ian McCall. I think he fought Ely as well over there in his last couple of fights, and he's on a 3-fight win streak as well. A really good fight. Good to see him in the UFC. We need more kind of talent like that who's out there, because like Montague, who lost to Dodson in Houston a few weeks back. These guys should be in the UFC. They're really good fighters. Tommy, he's a veteran of the lower weight divisions. Second fight in the UFC. His first fight was against John Lineker. Now, I met John Lineker last week. The guy is tiny, but the guy is a bomber. He's having struggles making weight, from which I'm hearing he's going to be moving to American Top Team with Dan Lambert's going to help him on there, put him in the Dolce diet and get him down there, because Dana White said if he'd made weight the last couple of fights, he'd probably be fighting for a UFC title against Demetrius Johnson, whoever the champion may be. So I think now he'll actually be paired up with John Dodson in a fight fairly soon, so keep your eyes out for that. So yeah, Tommy lost last time out to Lineker. This is a tough fight. This is going to decision. I'm going just for Ortiz, but him getting a decision in Brazil is going to be huge. I don't know whether it's going to come off. I'm going to go Dustin Ortiz by decision. Next up, we've got Adriano Martins against Darren Cruikshank. Darren Cruikshank's coming off a win over Eve Edwards last time out. He lost to McDessie before that. It looked fairly decent against Edwards as well. Martins, don't know much about him. Fought George Gurgel in the Strikeforce. 24 wins, 6 losses. But I'm going to go Darren Cruikshank here by late TKO in maybe the second, early third. So Cruikshank, yeah. Next we go at the lightweights. We've got Thiago Tavares against Justin Salas. Thiago Tavares, a veteran of the sport, I don't think he's fought in a while. I think maybe the last time he fought, he got knocked out against Khabib Nurmagomedov, which he did, which was way back in January. So he's had a bit of time off to kind of get ready again and come back. He had wins before that over Sam Stout, which he probably didn't deserve, and a knockout TKO victory over Spencer Fisher. Justin Salas here, he is, I think he's coming in for somebody here, isn't he? Quinn Mulhern maybe, I think, got injured, so he's coming in here to take the place of him. He's coming off a win over Aaron Riley, which doesn't really mean much, to be fair. And before that he lost. He got TKO'd by Tim Means, so I'm going to go... before that he beat Anton Koivunen, so I'm going to go Thiago Tavares by TKO. We move on to the middleweight division. We've got Thiago Perpello against Omari Akhmedov. Perpello, he is a Brazilian middleweight, coming off a win over Leandro Mafre at UFC 147, so he hasn't really fought in a while. June 2012, so he needs to kind of get back in there. He's 9-1-1. He looked a bit of a beast, if I remember, in that fight against Mafra, sorry. But I think he's got a really tough fight here against Omari Akhmedov. As I was going on before, these fighters from Russia, Dagestan, all around, I was going on about Nurmagomedov, Adlan Amagov, Chabalov, Bagatinov. This guy's just going to be another one to add to here. And Akhmedov, we're going to see a lot more of these fighters over the next probably 3 to 5 years that are coming in. They're going to dominate. These guys are sambo guys, but they're very, very good in their feet. Once they get a hold of you, they don't let go. And I think that he could do that to Perpello here. So I'm going to go Akhmedov by decision in this fight. We move on to the bantamweight division. We've got Johnny Eduardo, his first time in the UFC in over a year, against Lucas Martins, who's coming off a really good submission over Junior Hernandez not so long ago. Johnny Eduardo, I think, who did he beat last time out? He beat Jeff Curran away back in May 15th, 2012, so he's been out a long time, nearly a year and a half. Before that he lost to Rafael Sunside, but he's a veteran of the sport, a really, really, really tough guy. But I think he's got his work out here for the young gun in Lucas Martins, and I'm going to go Lucas Martins by... I picked him to knock out his opponent last time out, but he submitted him. I think I might go for submission as well, in this one. So Lucas Martins by submission. Next up, we've got Godofredo Pepe against Sam Cecilia. I've probably said this before in my videos. Pepe is a dick, so I'm hoping Sam Cecilia lands a big right on him and knocks him out. I can't see it. I can see Godofredo Pepe winning this by decision, so I'm going to go Godofredo Pepe by unanimous decision over Sam Cecilia. So we move on to the main card, which is started off by a really interesting fight. I'm looking forward to this fight. And Honey Jason against Jeremy Stephens. I'm a big Stephens fan. I'm also a big Honey Jason fan. Jason's coming off a win. He's an Ultimate Fighter Brazil winner. He's coming off a submission victory, I believe, over Mike Wilkinson. Whereas Jeremy Stephens is coming off a win over Estevan Payana way back at UFC 160 as well. Before that, he lost to Eve Edwards, Cerrone, and Anthony Pettis. So this is a big fight for Jeremy Stephens. If you're having kind of 4 losses in 5 fights, it doesn't bode well, and he got arrested and stuff like that. So Honey Jason, he's very good everywhere. He's an Ultimate Fighter Brazil winner. He's won his first 3 fights. He beat Godofredo Castro Pepe, of course, to win the show. Then he beat Cecilia by TKO, and then he showed his ground game against Mike Wilkinson. So I like I don't think he's going to stop Jeremy Stephens here, but I think he will get a unanimous decision in this fight. So Honey Jason by unanimous decision. Next up is a fight I'm really looking forward to. It's Santiago Ponzinibbio against Ryan LaFleur. Now, if you haven't heard of Ponzinibbio, if you haven't watched Ultimate Fighter Brazil, this guy's a beast. This guy could have probably won the show if he didn't get injured. He won a couple of bonuses on that show at the end of the season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this guy in there. We've got Ryan LaFleur, who's another guy who I think is a really good talent for the UFC. He won last time out in Sweden against Benny Holloway. But this is a tough fight for LaFleur, and I think Ponzinibbio is going to knock LaFleur out in the second. So Santiago Ponzinibbio by TKO, and if you haven't seen this guy fight, go and watch him fight if you can find his fights on the internet there. So next up, we've got Paulo Thiago against Brandon Thatch. Paulo Thiago, a veteran, he's been around for a long time, knocked out Josh Koscheck, will always be a fan of his because of that. I think he's coming off a win last time out, if I remember right. Let's see. But yeah, he was supposed to fight earlier before and get injured. He won last time against Michael Tractor-Pazarias. Before that, he lost to Dong Young Kim and Sayar Not So Great Baharzada. So Brandon Thatch, this kid, I've watched this kid come through the smaller shows. Got to the UFC last time, wasted no time whatsoever, and just blowing Justin Edwards out the water. It's going to be a big step up from Edwards to Paulo Thiago, but I still think he wins this fight, and I think he can stop Paulo Thiago late on as well. So I'm going to go Brandon Thatch by TKO in the second, but wouldn't be surprised if Paulo Thiago grounds out a victory by decision as well. So, but I'm really hoping for Brandon Thatch. I think he's a very exciting talent. Next up, we've got Rafael Feijão Cavalcante against Igor Prokayats. Oh, Igor, this is not a good fight for you, buddy. Feijão, knockout, first round. I'm not even going to get into it. I think he's just going to land a big shot and clip Prokayats. Prokayats going to want to clinch, put him against the fence, maybe get him to the ground, but I'm going to go Feijão by first round knockout. Devastating. Another great fight here for the co-main event. We've got Cezar Mutante Ferreira against Daniel Sarafian. These guys are beasts in there. As we all know, we've got Mutante, who is kind of like the understudy of Vitor Belfort. Looked incredible last time out against Thiago Santos at UFC 163. Submission by a guillotine. Before that, he beat Sergio Moraes. Daniel Sarafian had a disappointing performance against CB Dollaway, but came back with a submission, an arm triangle choke against Eddie Mendez last time out. I think this could be a fucking war, but it's tough to pick. But I'm going to go for Mutante Ferreira, I think, by submission late on. I think Sarafian might gas, and I think Mutante could submit him. So I'm going to go Cezar Mutante by submission, maybe early in the third. And then we've got the main event. We've got Vitor the Phenom Belfort against Dan Henderson in a rematch of a fight they had in Pride years ago. Belfort is on a really good run at the minute. I was listening to Chael Sonnen at the Manchester Q&A, and he was talking about this fight. I just think Henderson's maybe going to have a little bit too much for Belfort. I don't think he's going to catch him with the big strikes that he's been catching Rockhold and Bisping, but you just never know. He's on a tear at the minute. He's kicking people's heads off. Both former champions in organisations there. Belfort, UFC champion. It's a toss-em fight in this one. Henderson hasn't really looked great last time, and if you can kind of hit and move and get out his way, he's not gonna do anything to you. Tough fight. I think Henderson will win, but I've got a feeling for Vitor Belfort that I think he's gonna catch him with something in this fight. So I'm gonna go with Vitor Belfort by oh wow. In fact, I'm not. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go Dan Henderson by unanimous decision. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Dan Henderson by unanimous decision. Could get a bit sloppy towards the end of this fight if it's a 5-rounder. So yeah, I'm going to go Dan Henderson, unanimous decision. If he gets it in Brazil, I'll be surprised. It's a toss-em fight. Who knows? But there are my picks for UFC Fight Night 31 and 32. After this, we have got a great card from Las Vegas. We've got UFC 167, which is headlined by the man Georges St. Pierre, and I think the soon-to-be new welterweight champion in Johnny Hendricks, with some great fights on the card there as well, Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler. So they're my picks, guys. If you like the videos, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. Always kind of come and speak to me and let me know your picks. I always love to interact with people and hear their views and who they think will win and how they think they'll win. So come and follow me on Twitter as well, BigBulba7MMA. I'm always accessible on there. I appreciate everybody for going ahead and watching my videos for my last 5 videos have been very, very successful for me, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to go out there and watch it. So thank you very much. I will see you back here probably a week to 10 days before UFC 167. Enjoy the fight cards over that 4 or 5 day period. Take care.